The call came at 3 a.m. in a hotel room halfway across the world. Australian forward Chloe Bibby was fast asleep in China when her phone buzzed with a number she didn't recognize. Within 48 hours, she'd be suiting up for the Indiana Fever, playing alongside a woman who used to be her fiercest college rival.
To join the Fever and what's special about this opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm really excited. I had some stint there at Golden State. It was a great time. Went over, played with Australia, won a gold there, and that was great. So just to be back in the W and have another crack is really exciting. Really grateful for this opportunity here with the Fever and just excited.
But this wasn't just another mid-season signing. This move sent shockwaves through the WNBA community and left Caitlin Clark stunned by what her new teammate revealed about their shared past. The real story behind this signing is far more dramatic than anyone imagined, and what Bibby said in her first interview might just change everything we thought we knew about these two superstars. Just weeks ago, nobody would have predicted this moment. Chloe Bibby was grinding it out in China's professional league, thousands of miles away from the bright lights of WNBA arenas. The routine was becoming all too familiar. Early morning practices in empty gymnasiums, language barriers with teammates, and the growing realization that her American basketball dream might be slipping away with each passing day overseas. She'd wake up in hotel rooms across China, scrolling through WNBA highlights on her phone, wondering if she'd ever get another real chance to prove herself on the sport's biggest stage. The doubt was creeping in, the kind that haunts every professional athlete who's had to take their talents abroad just to keep playing the game they love. Then at 3 a.m. on what seemed like just another ordinary night, her phone buzzed with a call that would change everything. The voice on the other end was urgent, professional, and offering something she'd almost given up hoping for. The Indiana Fever needed her, and they needed her now. Not in a week, not after she finished her contract obligations in China, but immediately. Bibby didn't even pause to consider the logistics. She hung up the phone, stared at the ceiling for exactly 30 seconds processing what had just happened, then sprang into action like her life depended on it. Because in many ways, it did. This was her shot, possibly her last real shot, at achieving everything she'd sacrificed for. The next 18 hours were pure chaos. Bibby had to navigate contract releases, visa paperwork, and flight arrangements while dealing with confused teammates and coaches who couldn't understand why she was suddenly packing her entire life into 2 suitcases. She said hurried goodbyes to people who'd become like family during her time overseas, promising to stay in touch while knowing that professional basketball rarely allows for such luxuries. The journey to Indianapolis was grueling, multiple connecting flights through different time zones, cramped airplane seats, and the mounting anxiety of knowing she'd be stepping directly into a high-pressure situation with one of the WNBA's most scrutinized teams. But with each mile closer to America, her excitement grew stronger than her exhaustion. What makes this signing even more incredible is that Bibby had already given the Indiana Fever a masterclass in exactly what they were missing, playing for the Golden State Valkyries just weeks earlier on a temporary hardship contract. She stepped onto the court against the very team that would soon become her home. The Fever had no idea they were witnessing their future teammate in action. But Bibby was about to make an impression they'd never forget. From the opening tip, she played with a confidence that surprised everyone in the arena. This wasn't a player grateful just to be on the court. This was someone who belonged there and wasn't afraid to prove it. In those crucial 24 minutes of action, Bibby didn't just contribute, she dominated. 12 points might not sound overwhelming on paper, but the way she scored them told a completely different story. Her three-pointers weren't lucky shots or wide-open looks gifted by poor defense. They were clutch, contested bombs that swished through the net at the most critical moments of the game. Each make seemed to deflate the Fever's defense a little more, while simultaneously building her own confidence to stratospheric levels. The Fever coaching staff, initially focused on their own team's execution, found themselves stealing glances at this relatively unknown player who was single-handedly keeping the Valkyries in the game. She wasn't just playing against them, she was unknowingly conducting the most important audition of her career. Every shot she made was a statement, every defensive stop was proof of her basketball IQ, every hustle play down the court was evidence of the motor and determination that championship teams desperately needed. The Fever players on the court were experiencing firsthand what it felt like to be torched by elite three-point shooting, while their coaches were frantically taking mental notes about this player who seemed to have the exact skill set their offense was missing. The irony was delicious. The player who had just exposed their biggest weakness was demonstrating the solution to their problems right in front of their eyes. But the most telling moment came in the final minutes of that game. With the score tight and pressure mounting, Bibby didn't shrink from the moment. Instead, she seemed to thrive in it, making the kind of plays that separate role players from impact players. She hit a step-back three-pointer over a desperate defender, grabbed a crucial offensive rebound, and made smart decisions with the ball that kept her team's hopes alive. The Fever bench watched in stunned silence as this unknown commodity played with the poise of a 10-year veteran. That performance wasn't just impressive, it was prophetic. It was the basketball gods showing the Indiana Fever exactly what their future could look like if they were smart enough to recognize talent when it was staring them in the face. Caitlin Clark's injury created the perfect storm of opportunity and desperation. With their superstar sidelined by a nagging groin problem, the Fever suddenly found themselves scrambling to maintain their championship aspirations. The timing couldn't have been worse, coming right as the season was heating up and playoff positioning was becoming critical. That's when the front office made their move, offering Bibby a 7-day contract that was equal parts lifeline and test run. For Bibby, it was a chance to prove she could contribute to a title contender. For the Fever, it was a high-stakes gamble on a player with immense talent but limited recent WNBA experience. The pressure was immediate and intense, with every practice and every minute of playing time being scrutinized by coaches, teammates, and media members looking for signs of whether this partnership could actually work. While American fans might not have known Chloe Bibby's name, she'd been quietly dominating basketball courts around the world. In Poland's top professional league, she wasn't just another import player collecting a paycheck, she was the league's most valuable player, averaging over 20 points and nearly 6 rebounds per game while leading her team to unprecedented success. Her numbers in European competition were even more impressive, putting up 22 points and 7.7 rebounds against the continent's best talent. These weren't fluke performances or stats padded against weaker competition. This was sustained excellence at the highest levels of international basketball. She'd been honing her craft in the shadows, perfecting her shooting stroke and developing the mental toughness that only comes from being the focal point of an offense night after night. Now she was bringing all that experience back to America, ready to prove that her overseas success could translate to WNBA stardom. The personal history between Caitlin Clark and Chloe Bibby adds another fascinating layer to this partnership. Years before they became professional teammates, they were locked in intense Big Ten battles as college rivals. Clark's Iowa Hawkeyes versus Bibby's Maryland Terrapins meant sold-out arenas and nationally televised games where both players left everything on the court. They knew each other's tendencies, had studied each other's games, and had gone head-to-head when the stakes were highest. Bibby had never been intimidated by Clark's talent because she'd competed against it successfully before. Now that old competitive fire was being channeled into a shared goal, with two fierce competitors joining forces for the first time in their careers. The transformation from rivals to teammates created an instant chemistry that surprised even the coaching staff, with both players pushing each other to new heights in practice and bringing out the best in their games. From a strategic standpoint, Bibby's signing addresses the Indiana Fever's most glaring weakness. With Aaliyah Boston dominating the paint, opposing defenses had been collapsing inward and building walls around the basket. The Fever desperately needed a true stretch four, someone who could consistently knock down three-pointers and force defenders to respect the perimeter. Bibby's 42% three-point shooting during her stint with the Valkyries wasn't just impressive, it was exactly what the Fever's offense required to reach its full potential. Her ability to space the floor creates driving lanes for Clark and operating room for Boston in the post. At 6 feet 2 inches, she has the size to handle bigger forwards but the mobility to switch onto guards when needed. Coach Stephanie White's plan was beautifully simple: shorten the playbook, focus on Bibby's strengths, and let her do what she does best. No complicated schemes or learning curves, just pure basketball instincts and the green light to shoot when open. What truly sets Chloe Bibby apart isn't just her individual statistics or college pedigree. It's her championship mentality, forged through years of international competition with Australia's national team. She's won gold medals at the FIBA Women's Asia Cup and bronze at the FIBA World Cup, competing against the world's best players when national pride was on the line. That kind of pressure creates a different type of mental toughness, the ability to perform when everything is on the line and failure isn't an option. For a young Indiana Fever team still learning how to close out crucial games, Bibby brings invaluable championship DNA. She understands the sacrifice required for team success and knows how to maintain composure during the most intense moments. Her veteran presence in the locker room and on the court could be the difference between a promising season and a championship run. The signing of Chloe Bibby represents more than just adding another player to the roster. It's a statement about the Indiana Fever's championship ambitions and their willingness to take calculated risks to achieve their goals. Bibby flew across the world for a 7-day opportunity, demonstrating the hunger and dedication that championship teams require. She brings elite shooting, international experience, and a proven track record of success at every level she's played. With Caitlin Clark providing transcendent talent and Aaliyah Boston anchoring the frontcourt, the Fever may have just found the final piece of their championship puzzle. But questions remain about whether this move came too late in the season and if Bibby can adapt quickly enough to make a meaningful impact. The basketball world is watching closely to see if this surprising partnership can deliver the title that everyone expects from this talented Indiana Fever team, or if it's simply another what-if story in a season full of missed opportunities.